This is the 14th lesson into the book of Revelation, and the study for this session is chapter 17. Chapter 17 is about the hour of temptation. It is about the 5-month period when the Antichrist will be on the earth, and there will be both a governmental leadership and there will be a religious leadership. Now, the important part of this chapter is that God interprets much of it for us. We're going to see Mystery Babylon, and mystery, mysterion in the Greek, means an allegory that has been revealed. And we will contrast her to the woman in Revelation 12 who was Mother Israel. She had 4 crowns and 12 stars, and she will be the one representing believers and persons who know and who stand firm. They will be at the wedding, and Mystery Babylon and her followers unfortunately will miss. Verse 1, And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now, it's not ancient Babylon or Old Testament Babylon. If it sits on many waters, it is over a great part of the earth, and it will be symbolic of a power site, and it will be representing entire waters, all of the waters, many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Over and over in the Bible, we see that marriage, idolatry, judged as adultery and fornication, and we are to be a virgin bride when the true Christ returns, and we are to be ready and empowered with knowledge. All the powers in the people and the judgment will be seen for her. We're going to see the judgment, and if you are studying with me in Deuteronomy, you know that there are laws that never change, rituals which do change, and judgments which are getting what one deserves, getting a judgment. Verse 3. Now these are the kings of the earth. They're earthly rulers and people who have followed after and got intoxicated with her lies and all of the worldly, wonderful things that are promised through the 3 sources of deception, the fire and the smoke and the brimstone. Verse 3. So he, this is God, this is the angel, carried me away in the spirit. So he is being taken in a spiritual rather than a physical body, into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Well, who would that be with the 10 horns? The 10 kings, horns meaning power. Remember that he will be bringing 10 kings with him and 7 heads. 4, and the woman, this is symbolic now of the centers of false teaching, of deception, of leading people into the ways of the world, leading them away from God, leading them to follow this great world system that is in force. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, and having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. So she is presented here in royal dress, decked out in pearls, a powerful, powerful person, or not a person, a system, very influential. And she's drinking from this cup, and the cup is filthiness and all that goes against God, idolatry. 4 or 5 rather. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. This is the system. If it's the mother, it gives birth to the fornication, here to mean going against the teachings of God, going into the worldly one world system, believing the false religion that is going on. And I would point out once again, Ezekiel 13 says, I'm against those who hunt souls to teach them to fly to save their souls. Remember that. And if you are reading a translation that talks about birds in cages, then your translators have messed with the original text, because those words are not there. Cages and birds, the words fly mean to fly like a bird, fly away. 6, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of saints, just like those who killed the saints in the Old Testament, joyful to see teaching and Christian ways and righteousness gone and limited. And with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus, and when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. This admiration would be better translated as astonishment. Excuse me for fumbling for my word there. Here we are now, and we have the old mother mystery Babylon, and it's not a real city, but it is a symbolic city. And Babylon was, of course, where descendants of Adam were, and tried to make a tower to heaven, and it was called Babel, which means confusion. So this Babylon is, if you think of it, as a great governmental and religious power that causes deception, misleads, or tries to snare God's children. 7, and the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. Well, who was described as 7 heads and 10 horns? None other than Satan himself. This is the beast that is supporting the woman, the confusion, the one world system. 8, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose names were not written on the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they beheld the beast that was and is and yet is. Now, who is that? Is and is not and yet is, and who will be coming up out of the pit? That is Satan himself. Only one. Perdition, Apollyon. Ezekiel 28, he has already been sentenced. Ezekiel 28, 18 and 19, we are told that he will be made ashes from the inside out. So now we know the power behind the woman, and the woman, of course, is symbolic. 9, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, and translate that nations, on which the woman sitteth, regions, nations. 10, and there are 7 kings, and 5 are fallen. 5 have already come and gone. And one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And who will come and continue for a short space? Jesus cut the time from 3.5 years to 5 months. And let's go through these 5. We're talking about Jerusalem here and rulers over it. The first one, of course, they were taken captive, and history will be a second witness to the history in the Bible. It started by Nimrod in Genesis, and Babylon took the house of Judah captive, and Daniel, of course, went with him. And we know that this is Jerusalem being spoken of here because Ezekiel 16 tells us that it's God's favorite place. So we go through these kings that have fallen. Number 1, they were taken by Babylon in 597. Then Cyrus in 539 BC destroyed Babylon and Medo-Persia. True, Cyrus let them come back to Jerusalem and help to build the temple, but they were rather a colony of the Medo-Persians. Then, number 3, Alexander the Great conquered the Medo-Persians, and that is why you had Hellenist Greeks in the New Testament. In fact, Paul himself was part Greek. His mother was a Hebrew, his father was Greek. That is why that the New Testament has been put into the Greek language. 336 for Alexander the Great. Number 4, Rome came into power in 63 BC and stayed in power until 313 AD. And of course, during the birth of Jesus, Rome was ruling that part of the world. Then 639 AD until 1948, Mohammedans were ruling over Jerusalem. And by the way, they still hold the Temple Rock. And in 1948, that was when those good and bad figs were set out. And they may have control, but there's no peace. Almost every day, something has happened in Israel, even if it's nothing but people throwing rocks or hurling missiles. The 7th, there that was going to be there for a short time, Satan himself posing as the spurious Messiah, Satan himself posing as the true Christ. And as I said, this is history, and it is not something that's undocumented in the Bible. The historical books of the Bible will tell you this. God never leaves us, and He's always with us, and He will be sure that we have the victory if we'll stay with Him and not ride off with a wicked sister, Babylon. 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition. And that is, when he goes into perdition, he will be destroyed. It is not the 8th of the 7th. And he will go into perdition, and there's only one, and that's none other than Satan. And you've been told that he may be here, but he won't last. 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. And that's those 10 old kings that Satan brings with him, and they'll be able to pull supernatural magic, but they can only last for the hour of temptation. The hour of temptation lasts for 5 months. Number 13. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. And they will, of course, succumb to the power of Satan and will follow him. They will have one mind. And what will they have one mind to do? Verse 14. They shall make war with the Lamb. That's Jesus. And the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And that is meaning that they have been called and they have been chosen because they were in the first earth age on the side of God, and they will be standing against Satan in the end. Excuse me. Verse 15, and he saith to me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. She's sitting on the whole planet. All of the people and multitudes and the nations and the languages, everything, and bringing confusion and deception. 16, and the 10 horns, God again interpreting for us, which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. All of a sudden they're going to turn against her. Now who were those 10 horns? Those were those 10 kings that Jesus brought. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And the fire there, these are supernatural, and God is a consuming fire, and these people are hate the followers, and they will. The reason they hate the followers, they want to bring them to spiritual death. 17, for God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. In the heart of Satan and the 10 kings, they're not going to be doing anything that would be within God's will. And Joel 2 tells us about the locust army, and that God allows this rampage. And it's a spiritual rampage. And it sounds wonderful. It's a new economic system, prosperous. Peace is at hand. There are no wars. And people are fed a false religion. They are tempted with the lies and the deception to honor Satan himself as God. This 18, this is a beautiful chapter, and it's kind of stripped down. And you've got the time and the sequence. The water are the people, and the waters are the people who don't know the truth. And there are multitudes of them. And verse 18, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city, that religious system, Babylon, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. She has power, she has influence, she's riding on the minds and hearts of people. And it's a system, and it's an evil system, and it's supported by whom? By the fellow with 7 horns, Satan himself. This video has been a voluntary outreach of the Essex United Methodist Church in Essex, Missouri.